They tried to steal my meds. They instantly regretted IT. The throbbing started behind my left eye, a dull ache that quickly escalated into a searing pain. I knew what was coming. Another migraine. I stumbled to the bathroom, fumbling for the familiar orange bottle in the medicine cabinet. Maxalt, my lifeline. 2 pills and a dark room were usually enough to knock it back, but sometimes they weren't. I managed to swallow the pills with a gulp of water before collapsing onto the couch. The light was a weapon, each ray stabbing into my skull. I pulled a blanket over my head, trying to block out the world. Brenda, my neighbor from across the hall, chose that exact moment to knock. "Ellie, are you all right, dear?" I heard a thump. Her voice, usually a cheerful chirp, sounded like nails on a chalkboard. I groaned. "Just a headache, Brenda. I'm fine. Oh, nonsense, let me in. I have some essential oils that work wonders for headaches. Lavender and peppermint, you know. Lavender and peppermint. Right, like that was going to stop the jackhammer in my brain." I reluctantly unlocked the door. Brenda bustled in, her floral printed dress a visual assault. She took one look at me, huddled under the blanket, and clucked her tongue. "Oh, you poor thing, what did you take?" "Maxalt," I mumbled, my voice muffled by the blanket. "Maxalt? That's strong stuff. Are you sure you need all that medication? There are natural remedies, you know. Yoga, meditation." She went on a lengthy spiel about the evils of modern medicine, her words blurring together in the throbbing chaos in my head. I managed to politely ask her to leave, promising I'd be fine. She finally relented, but not before pressing a small vial of lavender oil into my hand. "Just try it, dear. You'd be surprised." The next few days were a blur of pain and medication. The Maxalt helped, but the migraines kept coming back, each one a little worse than the last. I was practically living in the dark, barely able to work. Brenda, of course, didn't leave me alone. She stopped by every day, offering her unsolicited advice and natural remedies. She'd stand in the doorway, peering in, her eyes scanning my apartment. I started keeping the door locked, even when I was home. Then things started disappearing. A bottle of water from the fridge. An Advil from the bottle on the counter. I chalked it up to migraine-induced forgetfulness, but a nagging feeling started to creep in. One morning, I went to take my Maxalt, and the bottle felt lighter than it should. I counted the pills. There were only 5 left. I just refilled the prescription a week ago. I should have at least 15. Panic clenched my chest. Those pills weren't just medicine, they were my ticket back to a normal life. Without them, I was trapped in a world of pain. The only explanation was Brenda. I felt a surge of anger. How dare she? How dare she interfere with my health, steal my medication? I decided to take action. I ordered a hidden camera online, disguised as a smoke detector. It arrived 2 days later, and I installed it in my living room, aimed at the medicine cabinet. The next day, I left for work, my stomach churning with anxiety. I kept checking my phone, half expecting to see a notification from the camera. When I got home, I rushed to my computer and downloaded the footage. The video was grainy but clear enough. There was Brenda letting herself in with what looked like a hairpin. She crept through my apartment, her eyes darting around, and went straight to the medicine cabinet. She rummaged through the bottles, found the Maxalt, and popped a couple of pills into her purse. Then, she sprayed a bit of air freshener, adjusted a throw pillow, and left as silently as she'd come. Rage burned through me. I had proof. I marched across the hall and knocked on Brenda's door. She opened it with a saccharine smile. "Ellie, dear, how are you feeling? I know you've been stealing my medication, Brenda." Her smile faltered. "Stealing? What are you talking about?" I held up my phone, the video evidence playing on the screen. Her face paled. I don't know what that is," she stammered. "That's not me." "Don't lie to me, Brenda. I saw you. You've been coming into my apartment and taking my Maxalt." She changed tactics. "I was just trying to help you. Ellie, you take so much medication, it's not good for you. I thought maybe if you took less, help me. By stealing my pills. Those pills are the only thing that keeps me from being bedridden with migraines. You're making my life hell. Oh, don't be so dramatic," she said, her voice laced with irritation. "It's just a few pills. A few pills that I need. You're lucky I don't call the police right now." I turned and stormed back to my apartment, slamming the door behind me. I called Mark, the building manager, and explained the situation. He was sympathetic but hesitant to get involved. "Look, Ellie, I understand your frustration, but without concrete evidence. I have video evidence, Mark. I just showed it to Brenda. Video evidence is one thing, but I don't want to get caught in the middle of a tenant dispute. Can't you just talk to her? Talk to her." I'd already tried talking to her. It was like talking to a brick wall. I knew I had to do something, but I couldn't rely on Mark or the police. I needed to protect myself. I needed to make Brenda understand the consequences of her actions. That's when I came up with the plan. I went to the pharmacy and bought a bottle of strong laxatives. They looked almost identical to my Maxalt. I carefully swapped out a handful of my real pills with the laxatives, making sure the bottle still felt the same weight. Then, I left my apartment unlocked. It was a risky move, but I was desperate. I needed to catch her in the act, to prove to everyone that she was a thief and a manipulator. I spent the next few hours pacing my apartment, my anxiety building with each passing minute. I kept checking the camera footage, waiting for Brenda to take the bait. Finally, around 10 p.m., I saw her on the screen. She crept out of her apartment, glanced around nervously, and slipped into my unlocked door. She went straight to the medicine cabinet, grabbed the Maxalt, and took a generous handful. A grim satisfaction washed over me. The trap had been sprung. I waited. About an hour later, I heard a commotion in the hallway, a series of frantic knocks on doors, followed by Brenda's desperate voice. "Bathroom, does anyone have a bathroom? I need a bathroom." I peeked through the peephole. Brenda was doubled over, clutching her stomach, her face pale and sweaty. She looked like she was about to explode. She stumbled to Mrs. Rodriguez's door, the sweet elderly woman on the ground floor, and started banging on it. Mrs. Rodriguez opened the door a crack, her eyes wide with alarm. Brenda pushed past her, nearly knocking her over, and disappeared inside. A few minutes later, I heard a chorus of shouts and yells coming from Mrs. Rodriguez's apartment, mixed with the unmistakable sounds of, well, let's just say it wasn't pleasant. The apartment building descended into chaos. People were poking their heads out of their doors, whispering and gossiping. Jake, the college student who blasted music at all hours, even turned his music down to listen to the drama unfolding. I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. I grabbed my phone and called Brenda's son, Kevin. I'd met him a few times. He seemed like a decent guy, even if he was a little oblivious to his mother's quirks. "Kevin, this is Illy, your mom's neighbor. I think you need to come over here. Something's going on with your mother." I explained the situation, omitting the part about the laxatives. I just told him she was acting erratically and seemed unwell. Kevin arrived with his girlfriend, Tiffany, a few hours later. Tiffany was the type of person who always looked like she just stepped out of a magazine, even at 2 a.m. She took one look at the scene, the gathering crowd of curious neighbors, a lingering aroma, and her face twisted in disgust. Kevin looked bewildered. "Mom, what's going on?" Brenda emerged from Mrs. Rodriguez's apartment looking utterly defeated. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup was smeared, and her floral dress was stained. "Kevin, oh, thank goodness you're here," she wailed. I don't feel well." "What did you do, Mom?" Kevin asked, his voice laced with exasperation. Before Brenda could answer, I stepped forward. "She stole my medication, Kevin. She's been breaking into my apartment and stealing my prescription pills." Kevin stared at his mother in disbelief. Tiffany gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "That's not true," Brenda protested weakly. "He's lying. I have video evidence," I said, holding up my phone. "I can show you." Kevin looked from me to his mother, his face a mask of disappointment. Tiffany just shook her head, her eyes narrowed with judgment. That's when I called the police. Officer Miller and Officer Davies arrived a few minutes later, their expressions grim. I showed them the video evidence, and they interviewed Brenda and several of the neighbors. Mr. Chen, the pharmacist from down the street, confirmed that Brenda had been asking questions about my medication, claiming to be a relative. Brenda was arrested for theft and illegal possession of prescription medication. As they led her away in handcuffs, she glared at me, her eyes filled with hatred. Kevin and Tiffany were mortified. They spent the next hour cleaning up the mess in Mrs. Rodriguez's apartment, apologizing profusely. They barely spoke to Brenda, their faces etched with disgust. The next day, I filed a formal complaint with the police and pressed charges against Brenda. I also got a restraining order, preventing her from coming near my apartment. The building manager, Mark, finally took the situation seriously. He evicted Brenda, citing her criminal activity and the disruption she'd caused. Brenda was gone. It wasn't over, though. The legal process was long and stressful. I had to testify in court, relive the details of the theft, and endure Brenda's lawyer trying to paint me as a drug addict. But I persevered. I had Dr. Sharma's support and the unwavering testimony of Mr. Chen. In the end, Brenda was found guilty. She received a hefty fine, was sentenced to community service, and was permanently banned from the apartment complex. The relief I felt was immense. The constant anxiety, the feeling of being violated, the fear of another migraine, it all started to fade. I installed a new security system in my apartment with cameras and alarms. I started locking my door even when I was home. I also started going to therapy to process the emotional impact of the experience. Dr. Sharma helped me understand that I wasn't responsible for Brenda's actions and that I had the right to protect myself and my well-being. I even started making an effort to connect with my other neighbors. I learned that Brenda had a history of meddling in their lives, offering unsolicited advice and spreading gossip. We formed a small, informal support group, sharing our experiences and offering each other support. Life wasn't perfect. The migraines still came, but I was better equipped to manage them. I had my medication, a strong support system, and a newfound sense of confidence. Brenda's actions had been a nightmare, but they had also taught me a valuable lesson. I had the power to stand up for myself, to set boundaries, and to protect my own well-being. And sometimes, a little petty revenge is just what the doctor ordered. The weight on my head was finally lifted, like a thick cloud had cleared. The sun shone through and I could breathe again.